Hey everybody, very excited about this article and talking about why we keep the wrong person on our team, the hidden reason behind that, and and then getting into a framework for helping people get unstuck in those kinds of leadership decisions. Um, I know, I'm a relational leader. I'm a harmony leader. So I think I've told you before there are three core drives: harmony, order, and progress, according to the Superpower Quest framework. And I'm a high harmony leader. So I'm high on harmony. Um, I've got a pretty high progress and then low order. And so what that means is I um, care about relationships, preserving the integrity of relationships a lot, probably above all. And I'm a bit conflict averse. I don't like conflict because I can often see conflict as a deterrent to relationship, which is not true. The truth is, if you want to have real relationship, it comes on the other side of conflict. Like real harmony comes on the other side of conflict. Um, you can have false harmony and just not deal with conflict, which is probably what I would be prone to. But I've learned over many years of trial and error and experience, painful experience, that true harmony you can only get there through conflict, and so therefore I do end up in probably more than my share of conflict because I can see the benefit and the value of it. And so I think many of us have our limitations and our reasons for, you know, having where you have that feeling where somebody as a leader, you know that there's somebody on your team that's not a good fit, um, and you don't necessarily know exactly why, but you have a sense for why, and it's causing certain problems. And instead of addressing it, you're maybe um, going behind that person and cleaning up or whatever. There's so many different ways that we try to cope with those realities rather than facing them head on. And so um, what I'm saying, my premise is that this is a clarity problem and an accountability problem. Clarity is the truth, what's really going on. It's being able to name and put words to what's really happening, and to go and face up to it, um, and deal with the ramifications of it. Right? What is happening? It's answering the question: what is happening? Is this just me? Is it just in my mind, or is this something in reality? Is there a problem in reality? And so it takes time and effort to get to that place, and often it takes second opinion and counsel and people outside of yourself. But lack of clarity is one of the reasons that we might allow um, a non-optimal or even negative or even toxic employee situation to remain. And so the first step is, let's get clarity. What's really going on? Is this person the wrong fit, and why? And I've got a clarity tool. So there tends to be three questions you can ask, or three areas to explore, to isolate the the issue, the core of the issue. One of those is this an environment issue? Environment, right? So that's one of the circles. Environment would be anything that's outside of that person's control that's affecting their ability to do their job. So maybe I have too high of a workload on them. Maybe their job description isn't clearly defined. Maybe they're not equipped with the right tools. They don't have the right tooling, or I'm expecting them to perform, but I'm not giving them the right computer, or all those things that aren't the person's. And so that's one. Is it the environment? Um, and if it's the environment, hey, that's my responsibility as a leader to fix that, right? To fix the environment. Number two is it a design issue, right? So design. Uh, am I trying to put a round peg in a square hole, right? Um, have I asked something of someone and put them in a role that's a poor fit for the way that they're built and the way that they're made? I'll talk about this all day. I wrote a book about it. Like, it's very important to not have crazy expectations of people to perform stretched outside of their design. We want to put people in roles that complement their design so they can thrive, so they can feel a sense of achievement. So is it a design issue, right? Is it, if I look at this person, and you can use personality assessments and strengths finders and things like that. You can use the Superpower Quest framework to identify alignment between a person's role and their design. And if that's low, um, then there's a problem there. And then the third is character maturity, right? So you've got environment, you've got design, you've got character maturity. Character maturity, I could have the perfect environment, and I could have the perfect design, and I could have a horrible attitude, right? I could be rebellious, I could be unteachable. There are I could be lazy. There's all kinds of character maturity issues that I can have, and these are tough. These are tough, right? Like they're it's tough to fix that situation. So, but anyway, we can look at this framework helps you begin to put language to what are you dealing with, what's causing the tension and the friction and the lack of performance, and the inability to meet the standard or meet the expectation, right? So you can use those. And then you get into what can you do about it, right? What can you do about it? Because each of those diagnoses comes with a different action plan, right? If it's environment, then it's my responsibility as the leader to fix the environment, right? And to address that, to do what I need to do to address it, because it's my job as the leader to equip that person for success. Am I not equipping them for success? Then I need to do that. If it's design, then there's a potential for relocation, right? Do I need to like relocation or removal? Are they in the wrong seat? Because then I just need to I want them on the bus, but they're in the wrong seat. Okay, I need to find a different seat. Or are they on the wrong bus? Meaning their design actually disqualifies them from being on the bus. That could happen as well. It's nothing personal. It's not any kind of a comment on their character, but it is reckoning with reality, which is the point of clarity, right? And so then if it's a character maturity issue, then it's either train or terminate, right? And the character maturity issue has the potential to be the most damaging to culture, right? Because if you're saying, we have this cultural value of kindness, and you've got a really mean person on your team, you're unwittingly destroying the standard, right? And everybody knows it, right? Everybody knows that you say with your lips, hey, we value kindness. And then you keep the person that's really mean and negative and destructive. Like, nothing destroys culture faster than complete inconsistency with the standard and the values that you say you believe, right? Because they might as well not exist, right? Your charter might as well not exist if the people see that the charter isn't enforced and isn't honored, right? And then that makes people feel like, okay, I'm not really safe here. I've got to fend for myself, or I'm not really clear. I don't know. It leads to all kinds of deterioration. So you got to take care of that. So it's either training, which is if you think that the person is open to having a change of the way that they're showing up in the space, then there's certainly there's steps you can take to confront and train and teach and challenge and see if they can come out the other side willing and able to meet the standard. Or terminate means, hey, you can't be on this bus. With that these particular issues, you can't be here. And so those are the ways. Those are the corresponding ways to deal with the different diagnoses if you're looking at it through this framework. So just want to encourage you in your leadership journey that leading is hard. I'm dealing with people, in a coaching capacity all the time, talking about the toughest of tough situations and relationally dense and relationally complex situations, and helping people navigate those things with clarity and integrity. And so I started this rant talking about the importance of clarity, both clarity and accountability. So clarity being what's really going on, and then I talked about the clarity tool. Accountability being what do I do about it, and what are the checkpoints, right? What are the checkpoints over time? Just alone, clarity and accountability, those are the things that leveled up my leadership more than anything else could have, right? Like when I got a coach, shout out to Nate Ulrich, who is a close, beloved friend of mine and also my coach. First he helped me find clarity, and he helped me create something called the sandbox, which is the principles of the culture that I am overseeing, right? The clear principles that I'm operating and that all of us are operating under. Then, really, we start meeting every month, every 2 weeks. At this point, we're on a 2 week cadence, and all he's really doing is holding me to the standard that I created, right? And that's it, right? So we'll talk. He'll check my blind spots, right? The whole purpose of our conversations, we talk for an hour. It's to produce clarity. It's a situation I'm struggling with. Like I always just lead out with, he'll ask me questions and I'll lead out with the thing that's most weighing on me. And then we'll dig into that. And then we'll get clarity around it. And then we'll get an action item. Okay, well, this is what you're going to, and a lot of times I'm the one talking myself into what needs to be done, right? He's asking really good questions. I'm talking and coming to the conclusion of what needs to be done. And then ultimately, I go with really clear action items on what I need to do. I have clarity, and now I have action in accordance. I'm going to be accountable. I have accountable action. But then the best part is what's going to happen in 2 weeks. Nate's going to say, hey, did those action items get done? Right? Not with judgment and not with condemnation. It's not a fear thing, but as a person who loves me, who is interested in my growth and development, actively helping me to stay consistent with the things that I say. It's refreshing. It's wonderful, right? Because then I get to, and if I did do it, great. I get to give him a testimony like, yeah, I did do that. I did do that. And you better believe, before I come into that call, what's on my mind? Did I do the thing? Do I want to show up to that call? Not because he's going to beat me up, but just because I want to be a self-consistent human. And I think most of us want to be self-consistent and want to be growing and want to be improving and conquering and victorious, and seeing thriving happen around us. And so, you better believe when it's the day of that call, I'm like, oh, did I get it all done? And if I did it, you better believe I'm going to do it. And if I didn't do it, then we're just going to talk about why, right? Like it's going to be a conversation, because inconsistency needs to be resolved. It needs to be addressed, and if you're going to grow, if you're going to strive for excellence, if you're going to strive for change, if you're going to try to impact the world, we've got to be self-consistent, right? We've got to be willing and able to do what we say we're going to do and to act in accordance with what we say we believe. That's the whole ball game, right? I mean, everybody knows this. How often have you broken a promise to yourself? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And then you don't do it. Well, what does that do? It hurts your morale. It hurts your self-image. And it makes you more prone to break more promises to yourself. But what happens if you start keeping promises to yourself? I've experienced this, man. Who's the most inconsistent guy in the room? I've tested on this. I've tested on the trait of consistency. And in the Big Five personality framework, I've tested on it. I'm very naturally very low on consistency, which means I need systems in place and I need people in place to help me be accountable. And now I'm experiencing, this stage of my life, radical consistency because of the systems that I have in place. And I'm going to tell you what, it just makes me want to I keep my promises to myself now. When myself tells myself, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and I write it down, myself believes myself that it's going to get done, which it's a game changer, y'all, in terms of productivity, in terms of confidence, in terms of joy. It's something that I wish for everyone to experience, and I believe that everyone can experience because, like I said, man, I'm coming from what seems to be a natural deficit. So anyway, for my leaders out there, I always just want to encourage you. You're not alone. Probably the biggest factor of success is not walking alone. So many of us get thrown into leadership. I got thrown into leadership. I was not qualified by any possible metric to be a leader, and when I got thrown into it, and a lot of times we feel alone and we feel isolated and like we've got to figure it out ourselves, and so then we're We're learning only through trial and error, which means we're going to make a lot more mistakes and we're going to suffer a lot more damage. Once I started walking alongside others in my leadership journey, it radically accelerated me. So that's my encouragement to you. You know, get people around you, get a coach if you can, and just keep growing. It's great to spend time with you today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take it easy, y'all.